Hello, I'm Edward Clydesdale Thomson. I'm an artist based in Rotterdam, and I've been asked by the gemeente Dordrecht and the Dordrechts Museum to create a new work in public space which is going to unfold throughout 2020, 2021 and 2022. The project takes place in three phases. In the first phase, we're building a historic chalk in the Biesboshal with master boat builders and volunteers. This chalk, this 15-meter long chalk, is then going to come here. It'll be 15 meters long, 4 meters wide, and weigh about 3 tons. The chalk is going to be burned. It's going to be turned into charcoal. In the second phase of the project, the boat is going to be dragged from the Dordrechts Museum to the Hofkwartier using people power. So it's going to be dragged by teams of people through the streets. The first and perhaps most dramatic part of the journey is when we break through the fence of the museum. We will remove this section of fence and replace it with a replica through which the boat will be dragged out onto the street. In the third and final phase of the project, this fence will be replaced with a cast sculpture which represents the form of the boat breaking through the wall. After breaking through the fence, the boat will be dragged along the museum strat, past the cars and the houses which will be cleared for the duration. The event will take place over the course of 1 day. The project is inspired by the Dordrecht history. Dordrecht was established or grew between the Meerwaard and the Dubbel along the Dordrecht, which is a narrow waterway, a shallow waterway, along which boats were dragged. And over centuries, the dragging of these boats created a space where the town grew up, because it was a shortcut between the two rivers. And that was essentially the beginning of Dordrecht, but also the beginning of the story that inspired this project. The pulling of something impossibly heavy, the collective endeavour of dragging something along the streets or along the water, created an idea that you could do something collectively much more than you can achieve on your own. So the boat will be dragged, teams of people will be dragging it along the street here to make it this small narrow curve down to the Lustig Endstraat. The boat doesn't fit, so it will have to be lifted, hoisted with a crane, the back of the boat hoisted up, but even then it will still scratch along the facade here, knocking off the rudder of the boat in the process. And later, one of the final sculptures in the third phase that will come back here will be that broken rudder, replacing what is currently the flagpole. As the boat comes down into the Lustig Endstraat, the street here is too narrow. As it makes the turn, it will scrape along the side of the building here, along the facade. What we will do is we will build a protection against the facade so that we can scrape this charcoal boat along it. And afterwards we will then measure and survey the markings where these that were left by this, and these markings will be turned into a cast, a half relief, which will be placed against the facade here. After the chalk has come down the Lustig Endstraat, it will turn this narrow corner round to the playground, and from here it goes further into the cloister town. As it comes between these two narrow buildings, the boat is too wide, so it will have to be turned on its side, and as it squeezes between the two buildings, it will break. This will be the first major break of the journey, and the front section of the boat will continue on into the cloister town, but the rear section of the boat will be left behind in the playground here, and will later, in the third phase of the project, be transformed into a part of the play area. So part of the play area will be removed and replaced with an element based on a cast of the chalk. This squeeze that happens as the boat is torn apart, as it squeezes through this narrow passageway, will both leave the fragment that continues to go forward and the fragment that remains, but a third fragment in the middle of the boat will in the third phase again come hung on the ceiling here, and it will be a small section of the hull, and that will be placed hung against between the ceiling and the brick wall. And what we're doing along the whole of this journey, or what we've actually been working on for the last year and a half, is simulating the journey of the boat. We've built a very accurate 3D model of the boat, a constructional model, and we have built a very accurate 3D model of all of this journey. And we simulate again and again the boat as if it was moving through with great force. So that now, during the boat build, which is currently happening in the Biesbos Hall, we can build in specific breaks or weak points, let's say, so that along this journey we can be very precise in how the boat will fall apart. So while it will look as if it is being squeezed through here and torn apart by the building, the fragments have already been pre-fractured in such a way that it can move through without damaging the buildings themselves. So as the boat has now, at this point, broken in two, or in fact in three pieces, it has become much lighter, but still there will be quite a challenge as we pull the boat up over the grass. All of the journey, now you have to remember the boat is charcoal, or it has been burnt black, so it will be drawing a line as it passes through these narrow medieval structure. The boat will, the front section of the boat will now break as it comes up the step and across this process of being dragged over the grass. And one of these fragments of hull will come back and again in the third phase as a cast, as a bronze cast sculpture and seating element, which will be positioned at the end or at this point in the cloister town. So we intend to leave as much of the grassy area open as we can. Each of the final sculptures that come back will tell a part of the journey, but collectively they are positioned in such a way that you can see from one to the other. So from here you can, for example, see the oar. You will be able to see the fragment on the lawn, and beyond that you will be able to see the fragment hung in the underpass, and then even a corner beyond that of the piece which is within the play area. So the fragments form a chain of this journey. The narrowest point of the journey is as it emerges from the cloister town. This gap here is it's not more than 2.5 meters. So by this point the boat has been really broken apart so much as it came across the cloister town. There's only a small section of the bow of the boat which will turn the corner into the cloister town itself. And this bollard here will be removed to allow us to pass by, but also will not be replaced in its original form. We will take a section of ore from the boat, and we will a burnt ore, and that will be cast, and it will become a symbolic element placed back there. We've now reached the end of the journey, the Hof van Nederland. This is where the final fragment of boat will come to rest. We started out with a boat which was 15 meters long, 4 meters wide, weighing 3 tons, and we'll end up with a fragment not more than 2 by 2 meters, weighing not more than 100 kilograms. This will come to rest here on the floor of the Hof, on the ground, and the final piece of the project, the final sculpture, will also come to rest here, embedded into the streetwork here. as a half relief, showing something of the movement of the boat, but also the construction of this burnt wood. So they've reached the end of the journey. The project is called Rivier boot Stad, and you can find all kinds of information on rivierbootstad.nl. Over the course of the build and in the process of creating the sculptures, we'll be doing a series of events which unfold this history, this Dordt's history of boat building, which the project aims to or is embedded in. But also on the website you can find information about how to become a volunteer building the boat, or how to become part of one of the teams pulling the boat. So please check out the website for more information on how to do that. We look forward to seeing you in the Biesbos Hall, and thanks.